Welcome back to Crime Story with Camila. Today we talk about a chilling story of the worst bank robbery in history, a tragedy of lives lost. Stay tuned as we delve in. Every city has its secrets, every building its stories. But in the heart of this thriving metropolis, one bank became the stage for a nightmare. A day when greed, desperation, and violence collided in a way the world could never forget. It was supposed to be an ordinary day, a day like any other. But in a matter of moments, this bank, and the lives of everyone inside, would be changed forever. This is the story of the deadliest bank robbery in history, a heist that spiraled into unthinkable tragedy, claiming the lives of dozens and leaving a city in mourning. The masterminds behind the heist were not amateurs. This was a group of hardened criminals, individuals with a history of high-stakes robberies, each one more daring and violent than the last. But this time, their ambition reached a deadly peak. Leader sounded in a low, determined voice. "This isn't just another job. We're taking the bank down at its busiest hour, maximizing the haul. Timing is everything. Get in, secure the hostages, load the cash, and get out before the cops even know we're there." The plan was meticulously crafted. For months, the robbers had studied every detail of the bank's operations. They knew the schedules of the security guards, the timing of cash deliveries, and the weaknesses in the building's layout. They even bribed an insider, an employee with mounting debts, who provided access codes to secure areas and tipped them off about the bank's busiest times. Armed to the teeth with military-grade weapons and explosives, the group rehearsed every step of the heist. But their ruthlessness extended beyond their planning. They were ready to do whatever it took to succeed, even if it meant leaving a trail of blood behind them. The leader said, "No loose ends, no hesitation. We go in hard, we come out clean. If anyone gets in the way, you know what to do." The plan was set, a coordinated assault at noon, when the bank was at its busiest. They believed their strategy was foolproof. But what they didn't anticipate was how quickly control would slip through their fingers, plunging the city into chaos and tragedy. This wasn't just a robbery. It was a time bomb, one that would soon explode, leaving devastation in its wake. Noon, the bank was at its busiest. Employees were tending to customers, unaware of the storm about to erupt. Outside, the robbers were moments away from executing their violent plan. Leader yelling, "Everyone on the ground, hands where we can see them. Nobody moves, nobody dies." The robbers moved with precision and brutality, each knowing their role. One secured the entrance, another began collecting valuables, while the rest focused on the vault and keeping hostages under control. "Mother, please, don't hurt us. We'll do whatever you want." While the robbers looted the vault and kept control of the hostages, outside, the first cracks in their plan began to show. "Customer, to 911 operator. They've got guns, lots of guns. They're holding everyone inside." The robbers had planned for a quick in-and-out job, but the clock was ticking. The police were already on their way, and the chaos inside the bank was escalating. Robber yelling, "Who did that?" "Oh, I said no tricks." Leader saying, "Keep it together. We stick to the plan." But the plan was falling apart. The robbers were growing more desperate, their tempers flaring. And outside, the sound of approaching sirens signaled the beginning of a standoff that would turn this robbery into a massacre. For the hostages, time seemed to freeze. Each passing second was a torment as they faced the unthinkable, the fragility of life in the grip of ruthless criminals. Mother, whispering to her son, "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. Just stay quiet." Coworker to his workmate, whispering, "Stay with me, Mr. Harper. Breathe. Help is coming." Robber, "Got something to say? Tough guy? You think this is a joke?" Leader got very angry. "Enough. We don't need more problems." The robber's control was slipping. Each hostage reacted differently, some with silent terror, others with quiet defiance. But all were united by one hope: survival. Amid the chaos, some hostages clung to desperate acts of bravery, hoping to alert authorities and end the nightmare. But every small action carried the risk of deadly consequences. Leaders say to the rest gang member, "Focus on the money. We're in and out, remember? Stop playing around." Each hostage was more than a victim. They were mothers, fathers, workers, and friends. Their lives hung in the balance, at the mercy of men who saw them as nothing more than pawns in their game of greed. "This is the police. The building is surrounded. Release the hostages and come out with your hands up." For the hostages, salvation seemed close, yet impossibly far. The police were there, but so were their captors, armed, dangerous, and growing more desperate by the second. Mother, whispering to her son, "Just a little longer, we'll be okay." The arrival of law enforcement brought a flicker of hope, but also escalated the tension inside the bank. The police knew they were dealing with a volatile situation, one that required careful maneuvering to prevent further bloodshed. Negotiator, this is Lieutenant Daniels of the Metropolitan Police. We want to resolve this peacefully. No one has to get hurt. Let's talk. Leader, to the robbers, we hold the cards. They'll play by our rules. No one panics. Outside, the police scrambled to assess the situation. How many robbers were inside? How many hostages? Every move had to be calculated, every decision precise. The police faced a critical dilemma: how to defuse the situation without provoking the robbers, who were growing increasingly desperate as time ticked away. Negotiator, we know you're under a lot of pressure. Let's work this out. Release some hostages, and we'll show good faith by meeting one of your demands. Leader, good faith? They think we're stupid. We're not giving them anything until we're out of here. The police played the waiting game, knowing that time was both their ally and their enemy. As they tried to negotiate a peaceful resolution, the robbers' patience began to wear thin, bringing the situation closer to its breaking point. The situation inside the bank was spiraling out of control. The robbers were on edge, aware that the police were closing in. Fear, desperation, and paranoia took hold, pushing the group toward a devastating decision. Leader, they're not taking us alive. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. No witnesses. Younger robber, wait, what? We weren't supposed to hurt anyone. This was just about the money. Leader, you think they'll let us walk out of here? Wake up. We do what we have to. In their desperation, the robbers made a catastrophic choice, one that would forever mark the day as one of the darkest in history. Negotiator, shots fired. We need eyes inside now. The robbers unleashed their rage, targeting the innocent lives they once promised to spare. Screams echoed through the bank as the tragedy unfolded. "Oh, go. Breach the building now." The police acted swiftly, but the damage had already been done. The standoff ended in a hail of bullets, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. In total, dozens of lives were lost, innocent people caught in the crossfire of greed and violence. Families were shattered, and a community was left to grapple with the senselessness of it all. The heist that began with the promise of a fortune ended in heartbreak. It stands as a grim reminder of how greed, desperation, and poor choices can unleash unspeakable horrors. The hours following the tragedy were critical. Authorities immediately launched a massive investigation to piece together what had happened, who was responsible, and how such a devastating event unfolded. Survivors saw. They were screaming, waving their guns around. "I thought I wouldn't make it out alive." Lead investigator, focus on identifying the suspects. Let's cross-reference the surveillance footage with any prior criminal records. We need to know who we're dealing with. Despite the chaos, investigators began to unravel the robbers' identities. Surveillance footage captured the faces of the perpetrators, and fingerprint analysis from weapons left behind provided further clues. Task Force officer. This guy, he's the brains of the operation. We've seen him before in connection with other robberies, but this one took a deadly turn. As more evidence surfaced, a chilling pattern emerged. The robbers had a history of violent crimes, escalating with each act. This time, their greed and recklessness reached a deadly apex. Investigator, these firearms were obtained illegally, likely through a black market dealer. If we can trace the source, we might uncover a larger criminal network. The investigation went beyond the robbery itself, delving into the criminal underworld that enabled such an event. Authorities sought not just to bring the robbers to justice, but to dismantle the networks that supported their deadly ambitions. Police Chief, our hearts go out to the victims and their families. This investigation is far from over, but we promise to pursue every lead to ensure those responsible face justice. The tragedy left a scar on the community, but it also galvanized law enforcement to act decisively, vowing to prevent such horrors from happening again. The events of that day left a lasting mark on everyone involved. Families mourned loved ones, survivors grappled with the trauma, and a community struggled to make sense of the senseless. While the investigation brought answers and some semblance of justice, no outcome could truly erase the pain of the lives lost. The tragedy became a haunting reminder of the devastating consequences of greed and violence. In the end, this bank robbery became more than just a story of a crime gone wrong. It stood as a testament to the fragility of life and the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable horror. As we remember those who were taken too soon, we are reminded of the importance of vigilance, compassion, and unity in the face of tragedy. Together, we honor their memory and strive to ensure such a tragedy is never repeated.
Thanks for watching. For more interesting videos, please subscribe.